My sister took $65,000 from me for her wedding and Whims, but when I said no to another $30,000, she called me a loser. My parents backed her. She created a GoFundMe trashing me, and now that I bought my own house without them, they're begging. I'm 30 years old. I work in corporate finance, and I've been going on almost 2 years without talking to my family, and honestly, I've never felt better. I know that sounds terrible, like, who says that about their own family? But when you know what happened, you'll probably understand why I made that decision. It all started like 4 years ago when my younger sister Megan, who was 26 at the time, got engaged to Travis, her boyfriend back then. Travis was a guy who, how do I explain it, basically jumped from job to job every 6 months and never had money for anything. But Megan was convinced he was the love of her life or something like that. Ever since we were kids, Megan was always the favorite, the apple of my parents' eye. I was the oldest, the responsible one, the one who got good grades and got scholarships for college. Megan was the one who could do whatever she wanted, and there were never any consequences. If I came home late as a teenager, I was grounded for a month. If Megan disappeared all weekend without warning, my parents said she was a free and spontaneous girl. That was basically my entire childhood and adolescence, watching Megan get everything she wanted while I had to work for every single thing. When I graduated from college and got my first job in finance, I started earning, well, I wasn't a millionaire or anything like that, but I was doing decent. Let's say about $75,000 a year at first. My parents, on the other hand, always had money problems because they were never good at managing it. My dad worked in construction and my mom was a secretary at a school, so they didn't earn badly, but they spent on ridiculous things all the time. And guess who always bailed them out when they couldn't pay for something? Exactly me. Since I was like 23, I've been helping them with rent, with medical bills, with the car when it broke down, with everything, basically. So Megan comes along one day, super excited, saying that Travis proposed to her, and I was genuinely happy for her at first. I gave her a hug and told her congratulations and all that stuff you're supposed to say. But literally like 2 weeks later, my mom calls me on a Sunday afternoon and says, "Benjamin, I need to talk to you about something important." And I already knew, from the tone of her voice, that she was going to ask me for money. She tells me that Megan and Travis are planning the wedding, but they don't have a budget for anything. If I could help with some expenses, just some little things, were her exact words. I asked her how much they needed, and she said, like $5,000 for the venue, that they had already found a beautiful place, but it was a bit expensive. I, being the idiot I was at that time, said yes. I thought, well, it's my sister's wedding. It only happens once in a lifetime, right? So I transferred the $5,000. But it didn't end there, obviously. Like a month later, Megan calls me crying, saying that the catering they wanted cost more than they thought, that they needed another $7,000. And I again said yes because, honestly, I don't know. I felt obligated or something like that. So, over the next few months, I kept paying for thing after thing. The wedding dress, that cost like $4,000, the flowers, the photographer, the live band that Megan insisted she had to have because her friend also had a band at her wedding, the out-of-town guests who needed hotels. I even paid for the honeymoon in Cancun. When it was all over and I sat down to add up the expenses, I realized I had spent more than $50,000 on that wedding. $50,000. Can you believe it? That was literally everything I had saved. In 6 years of hard work, my savings account was practically empty. But well, I thought, it's done. She's my sister. It was worth it to see her happy. The wedding was beautiful. I'm not going to lie. Everything went well. Megan looked gorgeous and seemed super happy. I thought that was the end of it, that now they were going to start their life together, and I could go back to saving. How naive I was. Seriously. Like 3 weeks after they came back from the honeymoon, Megan sends me a message asking if I could lend her $500 for rent because Travis had lost his job again. And I said yes, because I thought it was temporary. But then it was the electric bill. Then the car broke down. Then they needed new furniture. Then Travis needed clothes for job interviews. It was always something. And I kept giving money because Megan always said it was the last time, that as soon as Travis got a new job, they would pay me back everything. Like 6 months of this went by, me giving them money every 2 weeks or so. One day, I was reviewing my finances, and I realized I had given them another $15,000 on top of the wedding. $15,000 in 6 months. I mean, that's more than $2,000 a month that I was basically supporting them. And never, not even once, did they pay me back anything. Not even a proper thank you. It was always like, oh yeah, thanks, as if it were the most normal thing in the world for me to solve everything for them. One Sunday, my parents had a family dinner at their house, one of those they did every month or so. I went because at that point, I was still trying to maintain the family relationship, despite everything. We were eating, and Megan, super casually, says, "Benjamin, Travis and I are looking at houses. We found one we love, but we need like $30,000 for the down payment. Do you think you can help us?" And she said it just like that, as if she were asking me to pass the salt. Super normal, as if $30,000 were nothing. I just sat there with my fork in my hand, like, processing what I had just heard. I looked at my parents, expecting them to say something, to tell Megan she was crazy, but they just looked at me like, waiting for my answer. And that's when something inside me clicked. I told her no, that I couldn't keep giving her money, that I had already spent too much, and that I needed to think about my own future too. And you know what Megan did? She laughed, literally laughed in my face and said, "You're a loser, Benjamin. You make good money and you're so cheap that you can't help your own sister with something as important as buying a house. You're a selfish piece of shit." I froze. I waited for my parents to say something, to defend me, to tell Megan she was out of line. But my dad just said, "Well, Benjamin, she has a point. You've been helping until now. Why stop just when she needs you most?" And my mom nodded and added that family supports each other in difficult times. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. That's when I realized that to them, I was just an ATM. Nothing more. I got up from the table, told them I was sick of all of them, that I wasn't going to give a single penny more, and that they could figure it out on their own from now on. Megan started screaming that I was a terrible brother, that she would never do that if I needed help, which was a ridiculous lie because Megan has never helped anyone in her life. I walked out of that house and blocked Megan's number immediately. I told my parents I didn't want to talk to them for a while, that I needed space. Like 2 weeks later, a mutual friend we have, her name is Jennifer, sends me a screenshot from Facebook where Megan had created a GoFundMe asking for money for the down payment on her house. The description said something like, "My millionaire brother refuses to help me fulfill my dream of having a house. Any help is welcome." She painted me as a rich, heartless guy who had abandoned her in her time of need. The post had like 100 comments from people I didn't even know, calling me everything. The worst part is that the GoFundMe had only raised $75. I think it was 3 people who donated, but still the damage to my reputation was already done. I thought that was the worst that could happen, but no, because like a month later, I got a call from the landlord of the apartment where Megan and Travis lived. The guy tells me that Megan stopped paying rent 3 months ago and that she gave him my number, telling him that I would take care of the debt. The debt was like $4,500. I explained to the guy that I had no agreement with them, that I was very sorry, but that wasn't my problem. The guy got furious with me too, saying that Megan had assured him I would pay, and I had to hang up on him because I wasn't going to keep listening to that. The next thing that happened was so ridiculous, I still can't believe it. Like 2 months after that, I get a legal notification that Megan was suing me. Yes, my own sister sued me. The lawsuit said that I had made a verbal agreement with her to support her financially, and that by breaking that agreement, had caused her emotional and financial harm. She was asking for I don't know how much money, I think like $80,000 or something like that, plus legal expenses. I had to hire a lawyer, which cost me another $3,000 just for the initial consultation and preparing the defense. The day of the hearing was an absolute circus. Megan showed up with Travis, both dressed like they were going to a wedding, I guess trying to look good for the judge. Megan presented as evidence some texts that were supposedly from me promising to support her always, but my lawyer immediately showed that the texts were edited because the dates didn't match anything and the format was different from the real messages I presented. The judge basically told Megan she was wasting the court's time, dismissed the case immediately, and even fined her $1,000 for presenting fake evidence. Megan started crying right there in court, saying that I had ruined her life, that because of me, she and Travis were going to end up on the street. I left that courtroom feeling a mix of relief and disgust. Relief because the judge saw through Megan's lies, and disgust because I realized how far my own sister was willing to go to get money from me. I also blocked my parents at that point because they kept sending me messages saying I should drop the charges against Megan, as if I had been the one who sued her and not the other way around. Like 3 weeks after that, my mom managed to call me from a neighbor's phone because I had her number blocked. She tells me crying that Megan had maxed out all their credit cards, that they owed like $20,000 and that the bank was threatening them with legal action. She asked me to please help them, that they had no way to pay that. And part of me wanted to help them because they're my parents, but another part of me was so tired of all this that I just told her no. That was their problem and they had to solve it themselves. My mom started screaming that I was a horrible son. How could I abandon them like that, after everything they had done for me? And I said, "Really? Everything you've done for me? Like always treating me like the second-rate son, while Megan could do whatever she wanted. Is that what you did for me?" I hung up and blocked that number too. The next few months were weird. On one hand, I felt guilty. Like, did I really cut contact with my entire family? But on the other hand, I felt lighter, like I had taken a huge weight off my shoulders. I stopped checking my bank account with anxiety, wondering when the next request for money would come. I started saving again, and fast, because I was no longer throwing $2,000 a month at my sister and her problems. Like 6 months after cutting contact, Megan called me from a number I didn't have blocked, probably some friend's phone or something. I answered without thinking, and it was her. She started with this super soft and sorry voice, saying, "Benjamin, I know I screwed up. I know I went too far, but I miss you. The family misses you. Can't we just forget everything and be a family again?" And I asked her directly, "Do you need money?" There was a long silence, and then she said, "Well, Travis and I are in a difficult situation right now, but that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling because I really want to fix things." I told her I wasn't an idiot, that I knew exactly why she was calling, and that the answer was no. She immediately changed her tone and started yelling at me again, saying I was a heartless monster, that she wished she had never had a brother like me. I hung up and blocked that number too. It's been almost 2 years since then. Like 6 months ago, I bought my own house, a 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. I was able to buy it because I finally had savings again, because I stopped supporting people who only saw me as a bank. I've basically rebuilt my life. I have new friends, people who value me, for who I am, and not for how much money I can give them. I'm dating a girl I met at work, and it's the first healthy relationship I've had because I'm not stressed all the time about family problems. Every now and then, someone who knows my family asks me about them, and I just say we don't have contact. Some people look at me weird, like I'm the bad guy in the story. But honestly, I don't care what people think anymore. Those who really know me and know what happened support me completely. Jennifer, the friend who showed me the GoFundMe, told me recently that Megan still talks bad about me on social media from time to time, but I don't even check that anymore. I blocked everything related to them a long time ago. Do I feel bad sometimes? Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to have a normal family. One where I could call my mom just to talk without her asking me for money. Or where my sister and I could be real friends. But then I remember all the times they used me, all the times they made me feel like a wallet with legs, and it passes. The reality is that I spent more than $65,000 on Megan and my parents, and I never even received a sincere thank you. Every dollar I gave them was treated as if it were my obligation, as if I owed them something simply for existing. What hurts me the most, if I'm honest, isn't so much the money, although it's a lot of money, obviously. What hurts me the most is that they never saw me as a human being with my own needs and dreams. To them, I only existed to solve their problems. They never asked me how I was, if I needed anything, what was happening in my life. Every conversation, every call, every message, everything was always about them and what they needed. Sometimes I wonder what they're doing now, how they're surviving without my money. I imagine my parents probably found some way to deal with the debts that Megan left them. Maybe they declared bankruptcy or something. Like that. And Megan and Travis, I don't know. I guess they finally had to learn to live within their means. Or maybe they found someone else to manipulate. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care that much anymore. What I do know is that making the decision to cut them out of my life was the best thing I could have done for myself. For the first time in years, maybe in my entire life, I'm living for me. I'm building something that's mine, without the constant pressure of having to rescue someone else. My savings account is growing again. I have plans to travel next year. Things I could never do before because all my money went to putting out my family's financial fires. Was it easy to cut contact? No, not at all. The first few months were horrible. I felt guilty every day. I woke up at night thinking that maybe I was being too harsh. But every time I felt I was about to give in, I remembered Megan's face at that dinner calling me a loser. I remembered my parents staying silent when she insulted me. I remembered the fake lawsuit, and I lost the desire to reconcile. People who have never had to deal with toxic family don't understand how difficult it is to make this decision. They tell you things like, but it's your family, or blood is thicker than water, or you have to forgive because they're your parents. But those people don't understand that forgiveness doesn't mean letting them keep hurting you. Forgiveness doesn't mean putting your hand back in the fire after it's already burned you 1,000 times. I've learned that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. I've learned that you don't owe your mental health or your financial stability to anyone, not even to the people who raised you. I've learned that sometimes loving someone means loving them from afar, very far away, because being close only hurts you. Last week I was fixing the yard of my new house, planting some bushes, and I realized I was whistling, like genuinely happy with what I was doing. And I thought, when was the last time I felt like this before? When was the last time I did something just because I wanted to do it, and not because someone needed me to pay for something or solve something? I couldn't remember a specific moment because honestly, I don't know if I had ever felt this free. I'm not saying my decision is the right one for everyone. Every family situation is different. Every person has their own limit of what they can tolerate. But for me, cutting contact with my family was like taking off chains. I didn't even know I was carrying. And now, living my life without them, I can finally breathe.